Hello, and welcome to another horrific review. Um, I started getting a wee bit of a raspy throat this morning, so forgive me. It's not as bad as it was, but if this sounds awful, more awful than usual, I do apologise. I'm just trying to work through it. So here we go. This is a movie I have watched quite a few times over the years. I think it's the first horror movie to proper disturb me as a young one when I watched it, and it still has that bit of I'm gonna sneeze. Oh, excuse me. Flip's sake. This is Gomel. Go. Oh, excuse me. Two sneezes in. Flipping love live streaming. Not be added now. I hope I'm not getting sick. I can't be bothered being sick, honestly. You only feel that wee bit of a tinge around the head and flipping throat starting to go. I'm like, no. It's this schizophrenic weather we're having. It's supposed to be coming in the summer, and it's like, nah, not happening. So I'm on the fluids and the ibuprofen, and I'll be down in some paracetamol before bedtime. So anyway, where were we? Yeah, this because that's one of the questions you get. What horror movie scared you the most, or what? Blah blah blah. I think this movie is the one that this not so much scared me, like I wasn't jumping, but it made me go ugh as a kid, and even watching it now, yes, it's was it 1984 it was done? Or 1980? I think it was 1980 actually. 1980, yeah, bang on 1980. So there we go. Still has that 70s cheese about it, and just get into the golden age of horror. I think most of us agree the 80s were the golden age. But yeah, this still holds up. Apart from the music, I didn't realize how bad the music was in this. That's the only thing takes you out of the movie after all this time is the flipping music. If they're more sinister, like it's very boomy, how do you describe it? Yeah, very boomy in your face sort of music throughout this. If they toned that down a bit, oh, you have like an all-time classic here. So the premise is quite simple. It's like this movie's been around for donkeys. We start off, we're on a cruise ship. We'll have it's going around the Caribbean. We'll have Captain Ashland. Weird one. He's bitter because it's his last voyage as captain. He's going to retire. It turns out the company's letting him go, but he hates being captain of the ship because he hates going to the captain's table. He hates mingling with guests. Like, what are you doing it for, man? We don't get to, I mean, it's a horror movie. We're not going to get like full backstories. Don't know where I was in the Navy or what beforehand, but if you feel that strongly about pleasure cruises, go and flip them. If you can pile the boat, you can pile the boat or a ship. You can do anything. So go captain a tugboat, a fishing vessel. Go captain a trawler. If you feel that strongly about not mixing with the passengers or having to do all the what do you call it? No, the captain, the sort of. Oh my god, the words escape me. All the rituals that go along with being on a pleasure cruise, the thing for a family on a cruise is to be invited to the captain's table. It's seen as high honor or something to talk about, that sort of societal, those that are interested in that sort of thing. And that's totally, like, I'd never do it because I have no interest in that sort of stuff. So I wouldn't put myself in that position. I have jumped many jobs because of the environment that I'm like, I am not spending 10 years doing this crap with these people that I can't stand. I'd sooner be happy, earn a bit less money, but come home with a clear head and focus my energy on stuff like this, which I actually enjoy doing, rather than just pounding myself away for a few quid here and there with people I can't stand that you have to socialize with outside of work is in work, and that has to be your whole contact. I couldn't do it. So the Captain Ashland character, and I didn't realize this is only like I've watched this movie, like I said, quite a few times. This character, I didn't realize how bitter and twisted he was, which probably explains why what happens later happens. But you're like, why would you do that? But we'll see that in society, don't we? We'll see people who they want the title. You see it in politics. People don't want to do something; they want to be something, and they want these wonderful titles. And they want the little circle of sycophants around them. You know what I mean? This is old hat. I've talked about this hundreds of times, but they want that. And at the end of the day, they're not happy. Now, the more they try to, oh, look at me, life is wonderful, they actually tell that they're miserable. And I just don't see that being a fulfilling life. Maybe I'm lucky because I don't need the latest I thing or S thing, the same rectangle as, get the next latest rectangle that has a letter you don't even see on it. It's in it. So you can't tell this rectangle, like nobody can look at this and go, oh, that's a blah, blah, blah rectangle, as opposed to the latest rectangle I have, and vice versa. What's the point in getting the latest fashion if you're going to go to bars and clubs where you don't enjoy yourself and you're around people you don't like? So what's the point in spending your life training, busy as a nautical engineer, as a pilot, to then do something that you absolutely loathe? You could try it for a season and go like, nah, not for me. I just want to pilot a boat. Well, go and pilot a tank. Go pilot a long-haul tanker traveling around the world. If all you want to do is be in the deck, piloting the ship, and you don't want to worry about passengers, flipping, take a bunch of ISO containers. In fact, going up the Suez Canal, carrying billions, billion pounds, whatever currency you choose, worth of goods, high value stuff, can be just as fulfilling if all you want to do is actually focus on piloting the craft and the nautical skills. So in that respect, this character makes no sense. We've got chat. You're closer to the mark than what you think, Chris. I'll be honest with you. Think of this if you've seen it. This is like a 1980s version of Event Horizon, but it's on a ship. But we have so this is all happening. You've got parties in full swing. He's better, and Commander, sorry, next one down from Captain, Commander Marshall is his replacement, so he's going to take the captain seat once he goes. And he's so bitter towards him, but he hates where he is. It's like, dude, you're making no sense whatsoever. This is all going on, and then we jump over to the ghost ship, and they're all speaking. You don't see anybody, but you hear all the thinking over the tannoy. And I looked it up. I don't speak German, but it's like enemy ahead, and it's doing all the signals and stuff, and you see the pistons and things turn towards it. Now, probably because of the budget of this movie, because I think wrecking ships would cost quite a bit. It's all done with cutscenes, this ship, that ship. You don't see what happens, but effectively it rams the cruise liner and disappears. But that's it. Cutscenes to a group of people on a bit of driftwood, and we'll have a bunch of survivors. They then just come up upon the ship itself. Now, what I have to say is this ship, the ship's a character. I mean, the ship is the character, and that's the main antagonist. I don't know where they found the ship for this movie, but bloody hell, it's brilliant. Like, it is what you would expect a ghost ship to be. Rusted, it's painted black, it's dark looking, it's grimy, it's dirty. The only thing I couldn't get my head around were the cobwebs everywhere. Maybe it's just me being a bit naive, but I wouldn't imagine the middle of the ocean being a conducive area for spiders, because they'd run out of food. You know what I mean? They'd run out of food eventually. So I don't get that bit of it. So if they'd left out the cobwebs because they went overboard, it's like the Halloween store, cobwebs everywhere. If they maybe dialed down a bit in that, it's a proper eerie ship. And right off the top, they start, you see windows opening, portholes opening and closing, watching them, and you're getting this sense that somebody's watching them. And then was it not the gangplank, the ladders anyway, the walkway gets lowered, and then we start. They're trying to get on, trying to survive, and it starts picking off people one by one. The first guy not even onto the ship, gets hoofed over the side, and then the ship starts and takes off. Yeah, it does really well with the whole eeriness of it. They don't overham it, but they let you know straight away that these people are in danger, if that makes sense. And it's not, it's a malevolent force is on board with them, and it doesn't hide the fact that we know this is the ship that caused it. And it's just anchored out in the middle of the ocean, like not suspicious at all. No markings on it or anything. Yeah, then we get the people that go on board and start exploring. And I didn't get the list of all who gets. It's not quite a slasher, but it's that sort of format. People start getting picked off, and they discover more and more about the ship. And then we have Captain Ashland. He's obviously one of the survivors that actually pulled him aboard the raft. He was caught drowning. He was drowning in the water, and they pulled him on board. He's effectively put it straight into bed rest. And then you hear the whispering, in his ear and that. And then it sort of tells about his character, why he would be the susceptible one, because he's a miserable person. He's unhappy. He's no direction. He's feeling kicked to the side. He's that bitterness, resentment all built up, just ready to be exploited. So, kind of makes sense. There's two child actors in this, the commander's kids, and for child actors, they were pretty decent. I wonder when child actors became so awful. Because there's been a few movies now with child actors in them, older ones, I think. I'll use Poltergeist as a great example, where the child actors are actually pretty decent and they do the job and they act like children. Where did all these insufferable arseholes come from of today's age? Like, child actor now in a movie, apart from Black Phone, Fear Street, I think was good. There's one more. Yeah, there's one more. I can't remember, but I mean, I'm struggling to pick a handful of movies out of the top of my head in the last 10, 20 years that have good child actors. So somewhere along the line, that side of things got lost, which is weird. But yeah, these two are great. Robin and Ben Marshall. They play off each other. They act like kids. The embrace, the terror around them, and they're protected as well, because obviously the adults, their parents, are not protecting, don't show them, hide them back from certain things. So that's cool. You see a family unit, going about their business and working together as a team. And between these other characters as well, because everyone just, we're in a situation, we've got to work together. It's actually refreshing to see, I think, with us, that you don't have the snarkiness Do you know why in modern movies that you can't have a group of people together without them instantly falling apart the minute something goes wrong? It's like people aren't allowed to be stoic or strong or understand that they need to work together to get out of a situation. This modern, everybody has to be at each other's throats and everyone has to divide into little sections. It can't just be a group of people in a shared experience. It's quite depressing, to be honest. But I think that's the point of it. That's the sort of mindset of the individuals that created. These movies are obviously created in a different era, time, which I appreciate more because that's kind of the point of horror. Horror is to show the positives, the resolution, the resolute characteristics of people in the face of terror or danger or annihilation. That's kind of the whole point, is you look into the abyss stares back at you and you don't blink. And we get a bit of that here. It's not overplayed, that's the thing. It's people get frightened, people get hurt, but it's all about, it's the external force against these folks as they bond together, and try and get through this. And it just makes it just reminds me why we don't like modern movies, because and it's not just we hate this, because yourself when you watch a lot of modern movies, you're left with a sour taste in your mouth. You don't feel good. You don't embrace the terror. You actually feel a bit worse about yourself because of the way the language is and the way people behave. It's all 100% negative, but horror uses the extremes. That's kind of the point of this type of storytelling. It uses the extremes of danger and terrible things to shine a light on the best qualities of humanity. And then the idea is, you think, well, could I step up to the mark of face flat? It's meant to make you sort of ponder, God, what if that happened to me? Could I hold it together as well? Would I fall apart? When you're actually faced with abject terror, would I fall apart? Would it be understandable if I fell apart? Would I be allowed to scream or cry or be disgusted at something? Show emotion? And yeah, the answer is yes. If you're faced with something absolutely terrible, you're absolutely 100% allowed not to be like, oh, this is fantastic, love this. It's kind of not the point. The whole point of the horror genre in its different format is the strength through adversity, to come against this sort of thing, find a way out, and by coming together, it's a hero's journey in just an extreme format. The better told stories anyway. But we'll start. The two main characters are obviously Trevor Marshall, the commander, and who is it? The other officer. Who's part of it? Is it Nick or? Yeah, I think it's Nick's the other guy. He's the younger. No, I think he's a lieutenant. Younger officer. So these two guys, obviously, because first of all they're crew, so they have a duty of responsibility. Duty of courage. Remember that stuff. So it's not like, oh, I'm the big tough guy, I'm going to take a lead. It's like, well, we're kind of responsible for these people. Where the passengers are under our charge. Trevor's like, I'm looking after my family, but I'm not going to be a twat and ignore everybody else. If we all get through this, the better. So these two go about, and because obviously, let's say they're naval officers, even though civilian naval officers, but they're naval officers. So of course they're going to try and figure out what's going on with the ship. Can this pilot it? Where's its course set for? Can they go and reach help? Use the radio. So there's nothing here outlandish. It's just what would happen if X number of people ended up in this survival situation and they've already had a tragedy before they begin, just getting on this, not just the cruise liner sinking, because they don't know what happened. Obviously, it was the middle of the night. So they've had that trauma. They've then had the trauma of one of their crew, their group, perishing before they even get on the ship. And now they're starting to realize that there's something not right. They're not in a good place. And it's a nice slow burner. That's the thing. There's the horror aspect through this, and people do get picked off. And I don't want to, if you haven't seen this, I know it's an old movie, but I don't want to spoil that aspect of it. You know, people get picked off. That's the nature, because it wouldn't be much of a story otherwise, horror story. But as it happens, it's poignant, if that makes sense. It's not just, oh, here's 15 people, clink, 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 clink. Okay, there's the final group. Each time something happens, it's meaningful. Oh god, do try to put myself in the shoes of people in these type of movies. So I end up concluding that would be die from a heart attack in 15 seconds every time. Do you know what? That's fair enough, mate. That is fair enough. That's one thing about horror. It shines a mirror, and you take a look at yourself and you go, well, what can I handle? And there's no point putting bluff and bravado if you know that you're not going to manage it. Then that's why you go to the back, or you're the one that goes for help, or just bees away, doesn't go into the cellar, that type of stuff. What's next? Yeah, they get to the ops room and stuff, the chart room, and they're seeing it, and then they start to twig on. This is a Nazi ship. So they finally get to see the regalia, and then the signs, obviously being in German, being a bit of an indicator. And as they delve deeper in the thing, because obviously part of the party goes to find the bunks and see if there's food and what can they do to at least get set up for the duration, which is sensible. And there's a good wee scene with the wee guy Ben. He's turning the tap on the galley, and the green water comes out, and he's about to start drinking. And it's Margaret, not the mother, but one of the other ladies took him with her, and that's what I mean about the bonding. You know what I mean? The see there's a family, and the two kids that just take the kids under their wing, and you don't see that anymore in movies. Everyone's tearing each other apart, or at least that's straight away. There's like a family bond of sorts because everyone's in the same situation. So that's what I'm saying about the positive aspect of humanity, and that's where horror does it really well. But she's like, oh no, not until you boil it. Not until we boil it first, just that cleverness and thinking and practicality rather than the usual, that's what I'm saying. You could think it's a slasher, but it's not, because it's not your typical format. Yeah, and now the other interesting thing about this is obviously the degradation of Captain Ashland. He's in a fever, and then when he wakes up, he's completely possessed by the ship. And that's, he becomes a problem, as well as the ship itself being a problem. And it just, escalates from there. And then they discover, like I said, it's a Nazi ship. And we couldn't quite figure out. And I mean, this is from the point of view from the characters as well. So it's not all laid down. They can't figure out, was it a research ship or was it an interrogation ship? It's not 100% clear. But the things that go into the medical bay, and it's like Auschwitz. You pull open the drawers off for the people's watches, and it's the one of them bedpan things filled with gold teeth, and so it makes you think that it might have been some sort of holding ship, naval battles. It was like a prisoner escort ship or something. But Nazis being the Nazis couldn't couldn't just treat people. In fact, was it the Second World War? Why the Geneva Convention come into place? I believe it was. I need to look that up. When did actually, I'm going to do it now. Send them on. Geneva Convention for treaty. Oh, right. So they started from 1864. All right. So there's been conventions. Yeah, and then after 1949, there was additional protocols. I knew the Second World War featured a lot with the Geneva Conventions. Like there's a whole new, like the Munich Accord was brought into place. That basically you weren't allowed to experiment on people or make people take medical procedures. That was one of the reasons why, because of stuff like this. Because a lot of what makes this terrifying is that a lot of it's based in reality. This shit happened. No getting away from it. Not pleasant at all. So that was one of the things. Was the Munich Accord was like, right, you're not experimenting people. Stop it. It's bad. We don't want to go down that road. We're trying to like be better, not sink back and be worse. But hey ho, people's always going to be people. There's always some lunatic out there. But yeah, they find this and then they start to delve more into the ship, and then they realize that it's set a circular course. So this thing, for some reason, is still an active ship, and it's actually doing, it's actually got a planned route, so it's not just drifting aimlessly. It's got purpose. They don't actually, encounter anything. The only entity they encounter is Ashland when he's basically possessed and turned. But the rest is the ship doing it itself. That's and it's done so well. Like I said, if you look at the interior of this, and I wonder what the budget was. You looked it up. Because apart from the ship itself, like there's not a mass amount of special effects. Like there's makeup and stuff done and that, the props, but it's a really stripped back basic movie, which sometimes you need. Sometimes you don't need bells and whistles. You just need a compelling story. And that's, I think that's why you can watch this one, like it's 1980. You can watch it today and still enjoy it because the compelling story's there and the suspense and the drama. If, like I said at the very start of this stream, if it just toned down the bloody music, if somebody would rewrite the score and just, instead of the booming drama, tone it down to dark and creepy, you'd send shivers up people's spines, just the whole outlook in this. But yeah, more things start happening. I say I'm not going to spoil that. More things happen to the crew, and then it comes down to the final confrontation. Because they realize that Ashland's just off his nut, and he's going around trying to kill people. Great character in this, Laurie. She's gorgeous, by the way. Victoria Burgoyne. The scene in the shower, she's in the shower, and the shower just starts spewing blood, and she really, the door locks, but it's a heavy duty, it's a ship, so it's not your typical glass shower door. It's heavy duty, almost airtight, watertight. And her kicking and punching and, freaking out. That was a really intense physical scene. And was done really well. And then it was funny though, because then about 5 minutes after that, when Marshall and Nick come back, or it's not Nick. Nick's the flipping comedian. And what am I doing? I don't know. Was it Parsons? I don't know who the other guy was. I can't remember his name. No, Nick was the comedian. He was the compere, for the night's entertainment. He ended up, on the ship. But basically the two officers, come running back, and you see Ashland carrying, which is obviously a mannequin, under his arm. I know they're trying to signify the strength of him, but it just looks so comical because you could, you try carrying a dead body under one arm. It's not easy. Not that I would know. Or do I? Anyway, not being silly. Yeah, that was kind of the only comical scene, and I don't think it was intentional. Just the effects of the day. Actually, when he was holding it above his head, it looked more realistic than when he was dragging it. So I don't know what they could have done there. That's the thing as well about filming with reels. You didn't have the luxury of going back. Digital now you can basically go back and review it and change it on the spot. You didn't have the luxury back in. It was a time induced process. It wasn't an easy thing. Editing was not just done willy nilly. Now that they waste so much money on reshoots and rehashes and the busy retell stories, there's a form of laziness, I think, because of the resource of digital. It's like people that take a million selfies, but there's only really two good ones. Where when you had a film with camera, you had or camera with film even. That's even better. You had to plan your shots, even though nobody had to be a professional photographer, but you still had to plan your shots because you knew that was going to cost you money to get that film developed. You wanted the best out of it. So I think that's the only scene sort of led it, but they had him that far up that I suppose at the time they would have got away with it. But definitely when he held her above his head and threw her in the water, that was done well and was realistic. So I don't know what went wrong with that scene in between. But yeah, everything kind of comes to his conclusion. He's trying to, and it turns out that the ship is inhabited by ghosts, which I think we kind of figured out from the very start. The bit I can't get my head around is that, because it's through the, Ashland becomes the way when you're dealing with a spectral entity or something that's like in seances and that, it's good to have a human character that gets possessed or channels the energy, because that becomes the point of communication to an otherwise alien entity. And he says that, no, you're not leaving my ship. You're all to be sacrificed. The ship runs in blood. Now, they don't quite, because the way people get dispatched along the way doesn't quite feed into that. So that's the only bit that's lacking in this movie, is the ghost aspect, how it became a ghost ship, how the actual mechanics of feeding the sacrifices, if that makes sense, to keep it running. And there's another scene in a freezer, which I'll let you watch and find out for yourselves. Doesn't explain that scene, why that was set up, because it wouldn't happen. So sometimes, and I had a good opportunity with the little mini cinema they had. So they were playing, they'd found a cinema and they all gathered in and they were watching a movie, and then it cuts off, stops, and then things obviously progress, but then they go back, the two officers go back, and then that's when it starts playing all the Nazi footage. IMDb have given Adolf Hitler a credit in this movie. I don't know whether to be impressed or worried. They've actually, Adolf Hitler, self-archived footage, uncredited. They've actually given him a credit in this movie. That's just... I don't know what to think about that. That's just bonkers. But there you go. Obviously, don't want him to come from the grave and sue him. But the usual Reichstag stuff and all that nonsense. And on the show and all that footage, just to basically explain the audience. But I'm going to review this movie at some point, because I don't think I have on this channel. I think I mentioned a couple of times, that's like the darkest horror and Nazi movie I've ever watched. Like the soldiers and that, the undead soldiers and stuff, are so gritty and visceral. It's really good watch. But what they did was they had the old reels of the footage of the experiments, which led them to happen. I think they needed something like that in this movie, because that's the only bit. Like, they had enough time in this movie and plenty of character development, and it was going at a nice pace. But that's a bit felt rushed. Was, how did this ship become a ghost ship? They kind of left that bit out. And also how how does the whole mechanics, the ritual, what point did the crossover? And I've had this uh, conversation before in other movies. There's I'll probably do a whole series because that's, it's, I've said this before, the best antagonists, the proper human horror. But yeah, that whole thing of how it became the ghost ship, we know what its purpose is. It basically feeds on human life, but the way people, get dealt with doesn't make sense. But anyway, we'll have this showdown, and Ashton and Marshall confront each other. He gets his family off the side, and then the radar detects another cruise ship. And this is where it's interesting, where he was the master, because he was basically commanding the ship. He's possessed, he's wearing the uniform and everything. It's amazing how you can find uniforms that fit you, for sake. Even my old uniforms don't fit me, for sake. I remember once somebody wanted to buy an old stable belt off me, and I went, yeah, it fits. Oh, doesn't even click. I'm like, oh dear. Yeah, you can buy that. I'm no good for me anymore. I got a bit fat. But yeah, perfectly fitting uniform, like fantastic. But yeah, he's trying to basically get the ship to chase down a lifeboat full of 4 people, and the ship's like, no, there's another cruise ship, we're going for that. And then they kind of like don't give him control of the ship anymore. So he didn't really have control. He just thought he had, because the ship obviously doesn't need a pilot, a captain. Which is weird as well, because I thought if he had been possessed, it would have made more sense. Because essentially what happened was Ashton had a breakdown, and it was just whisper in his ear, and it was his own neurosis that came to bear. I think if he had actually been possessed by the ship's captain of this particular one, it would have been better. So there are my only real gripes about an otherwise, like, I'll watch this movie again loads and loads. An otherwise like enjoyable and disturbing movie. A couple of niggly points, but after 20 years, 23 years, that's not too bad, is it? I've complained worse about, much higher budget, much, supposedly terrifying movies. So if that's my only gripes, then must be a decent watch. Technical specs of the blood in the ghost ship, and yeah, exactly. That's in fact, that would be a flipping good Cthulhu scenario to play out. Might try and cobble something together, blood ship or something. Yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. I'll have a crack at that, and yeah. So Ashton starts, he finishes off. He just starts trying to tear the ship apart. And takes his rifle, the rifle he found, and starts shooting at it. And then he gets mangled up in the gears, which to me would have made more sense if people were like fed into the ship somewhere. That would have been done. But then maybe that was a bit too high in the budget, or not quite. I don't think after the shower scene with Laurie's character and him carrying were looked a bit cheesy. Some of the stuff, I think maybe the actual mechanics of it happened would have taken away from the suspense. Maybe not knowing is what makes this movie work, and it not being shown out. But yeah, finish off there. They're on the lifeboat, and then the ship turns away, and they obviously paddle off and get rescued. But then it carries on. There's another cruise ship, and then the enemy ahead and changing direction and stuff. And then it all starts again. Yeah, still a creepy movie. I actually did enjoy this, and surprised how much, because you watch a movie like from years ago, and you go back to it, and then you're like, oh, okay, that wasn't great, and your initial thoughts on it, except Prince of Darkness, that's still a great movie, and fuck you, Cameron. Yeah, I'm glad that this actually turned out to be, still as creepy. Not the same shock, but it's still, because I watched it as a wee one. But the fact that it's still creepy and still had that impact is cool. So definitely check it out. Links in the description, all that good stuff. If you have watched it, do let me know what you think. Love to hear. It's hard not to spoil it, even though it's an old movie, because if you want people to revisit these, it's not worth spoiling the entire beat for beat plot, because that's not really going to do much. But yeah, it's a good movie. It's definitely a creepy one, definitely in the horror genre, and rewatchable. It's held its own throughout time. So there you go. There's a review. Hope you enjoyed it. Okay, what am I doing next? Still have to get the links to share in the social media, but this Thursday this is Monday. Tomorrow, probably having the night off. Wednesday, I'm on Brotherhood of the Dice. Thursday, I'm on Eric Capita's channel. This Sunday, we've got the HORRORific talk spot. We're going to talk about Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, and the upcoming sequel. So that'll be a good one. And then where else am I going to be? Going to be in Dragonlance's channel the week after him. That's good on. So quite busy. Not as much on this channel. I'm kind of floating about a bit, but then it's that's the whole point of networking, isn't it? You go on your mates' channels, they come in yours. We all have a good time. That's more important than just sitting here in a lonely box. Interacting's always more fun. The booby count was one set of boobies, Laurie's, and yes, we saw them and they're a bit blood soaked, but they're still glorious. She's a well put together woman, like gorgeous woman. Yeah. So we get boobies in this, but they're tastefully horror boobies as opposed to just throwing them out there. I thought you might have picked that up with the shower scene. So we weren't teased boobies and denied boobies like that last pesky movie I reviewed. No, we got the payoff. Actually, quite a bit of payoff for this one. So yeah. Of course, it still counts. That's what matters. Yep. So still well within our KPIs. We're achieving our KPIs for boobies and horror movies. That's good. The channel's still on target. We're still in the wee green, the wee green meter. We haven't gone into the amber or anything yet. So that's good. I was going to surprise you with those actually, and if you watched it, you'd say, right, yes, still in 30% boobies. Check, cool, tick, in the green. So there you go, folks. Go up to the other channel, keep an eye out for posts, and Shirley's around. And for some reason, I was building up subscribers, and then YouTube does this a lot. In fact, all the platforms do. I start building up with subscribers, and then it just freezes for some reason. Like we've always been building up like a couple of subscribers a week, new people come on board, and then it just has this like weird plateau where nobody seems to join the channel. Then we get another wee influx again. So do us a favor, share these around, get people on board. Obviously, get more people in the chat as well. Let's get a bit of conversation, a bit of a laugh going, and that's always half the fun because we all love our tangents. But yeah, nothing out there. I'm going to reach out to the authors again, try and get the HORRORific Tales segment up and running. That's kind of faded away for a bit, but partly my fault because I haven't really been plugging it. So I want to try and get that going again and get authors on board. And flip sake, this Saturday I've got Andrew Najberg. Talking of authors, I've got a HORRORific chat with an author. Find out about him and his projects. So we'll have a wee chat then Saturday. I knew I was doing something else. Flipping racking my brains here. I'm going to see now. Yeah, so let's get some subscribers up. Let's get the word out. Because there's no point having people on if nobody's there to watch them. Let's try and get a bit more views. Even not my ugly mug, but at least to see other people who try and focus. And go try and get another game organized. Maybe beginning of June or middle of June. We'll see who's available. So there you go. Thanks once again for turning up, Chris. Always a pleasure having you in chat, mate. Good to have you. What we do on the channel, do the typey clicky things, and until next time, keep it creepy, keep it horrific.